Thursday Night Football is upon us, and today is going to be a fun one. Our sweet boy Jaden Daniels in action. So we've got Commanders-Packers. The Commanders a 3-point dog on the road, but it doesn't matter right now. What we're going to do is what we always do here on the Splash Play channel on the Monday slates, the Thursday slates, and for your main slates, we're going to talk about the projections. We're going to look at stochastic data here, see who the top projected players are, who the top value plays are. We're going to check out ownership as well, see what the ownership projections are going to tell us who the chalk players on the day. We're going to hop over to the solver, see what ETR's data thinks has an optimal lineup today. We'll run some sims on there. We'll run some stochastic sims. By the end of this video, I'll also do a hand build too. That doesn't really matter that much. But in this video, you'll have 3 takeaways from me to build unique lineups on this one. So let's get into it. Again, the Commanders a 3-point dog, opened at 3.5, I believe. So a slight bit of line movement there. Either way, though, Commanders an underdog here. Packers with what they showed against the old Detroit Lions on week 1. Definitely going to be a popular team today. Really a popular team across the year. I think people feel like this is now a Super Bowl contending team. And, well, we'll see how we feel about that one as the year goes on. Shout out to the chat. Appreciate guys like Jason, our OG Mans fan here. Appreciate all you guys watching live right after the fact here. And, of course, do these videos on Mondays, Thursdays, and the main slate be doing tomorrow at 12 p.m. as well. Let's get into the projection zone. Of course, all credit to Stochastic. 15% off the promo code SPLASH at Stochastic. Click the link in the description too if you want to get over there and check out data like this for yourself. Jaden Daniels, the top projected guy by a pretty good margin here. 4.3 fantasy points higher than our number 2 guy, Jordan Love. Jaden, a 22.7 point projection, 2.1x value for this one. So it does seem like a nice situation to get a lot of Jaden Daniels today. He's probably going to be our highest owned guy as well, based on the data that I saw on the Stochastic channel. Oh my God, is this the fucking is another StreamYard thing? For the record, I did a video, the exact same situation on Stochastic's channel, and didn't have an issue. So hopefully it's only you spurious news. But if it's everybody, I am going to be not a happy boy with StreamYard once again. No, it looks good on my YouTube. So I think it's you, spurious news. Go fuck yourself. No, you're fucking making me freak out, though, because StreamYard, if you guys have missed it, has botched the audio on stream, has made the video get choppy, but I don't think that's the case, at least based on what I can see on my phone right now. But Jaden, your top projected guy, as you guys know, I'm a big believer in him. He ran 8 times in week 1, on pace for over 1,000 rushing yards on the year, with the 70 rushing yards that he put up in that game. So for Jaden Daniels, you guys know the deal. I would say, in my opinion, I said this on Stochastic a couple hours ago, there's 2 players I think have a very high probability. They'll be in more lineups than might even make it in every single lineup. Probably not, but I think pretty close to it. Jaden, I think, makes a winning lineup. Josh Jacobs, I think, makes a winning lineup. It's these 2 guys, roles in their offense is what they have in terms of a share of the scoring equity for their teams. Jaden will be in a lot of my lineups, but you shouldn't be surprised if you watch this channel at all in the last 2 calendar years. Thank you, Spurious News. It is my suffering now. Literally last Friday, if you guys are not a member on the channel, I did a 40-minute start to a video where StreamYard, for some reason, wasn't pulling up my audio or video or what I was showing on the screen. So StreamYard on my shit list. But now when everybody in the chat is like, oh, it's glitching out for me, might just be their reception, but it makes me panic and die inside. Speaking of panic and dying inside, Jordan Love. That's not correlated at all, but an 18.4 projection on him. Very high salary, 10K salary for him in this spot. Jordan Love, a guy who in week 1 did not have to pass a ton in that game, only dropped back 23 times. Was a pretty efficient player, though, 0.5 EPA per run, 0.5 EPA per pass, actually. So was efficient in both categories as well. Jordan Love, preseason, there was talk of him running more. He didn't really run more in that first game against the Lions, only ran 2 times, but did run both times in the red zone. So there is some touchdown equity here. This is a spot where I think with the salary for these guys, maybe you don't get as many lineups with Jaden and Jordan Love. That's certainly a possibility. For Jordan Love, having some red zone rushing equity, having obviously the spot where you don't really know which Packers receiver is going to have a dominant share, if any, I think does benefit playing more Jordan Love as opposed to playing some of the receivers. That said, Jordan Love at 10K feels a little bit lofty given the fact that Jaden, a guy who we know has big rushing upside, big touchdown equity, also really the entire passing offense obviously going to flow through him as well. Jaden's only 1K more. So I'd rather play Jaden. Jordan Love, they'll be in a good amount of lineups today. Feels to me like a 2 QB build day despite the spend there. But certainly Jordan Love, happy to get him out of some lineups and have Jaden in over him whenever that opportunity comes up. Josh Jacobs, a 17.5 projection, a little bit behind Jordan Love. In week 1, Josh Jacobs had 5 red zone opportunities, including 3 inside the 10-yard line. Josh Jacobs, similar role last year. Chris Brooks, Manuel Wilson, the guys behind Josh Jacobs, they combined for 11 snaps in that game, so it's not really a spot where there's an RB2 that should suck anything away from Josh Jacobs. On Washington, you have Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, you have Eckler. Maybe we get Chris Rodriguez active today, which I think would muck things up. Jared McNichols, that will be active, probably not taking a ton of work, but he's a guy that it's money for Washington's how I feel about it. Projection from Stochastic are to support that as well. For Green Bay, it's not money. Josh Jacobs, a highly projected guy here. Think he's very likely to be in a winning lineup today because of the fact I think he scores a touchdown. So Jacobs, if you want to bet an anytime touchdown, I don't think you're getting great odds on that based on what I was seeing before the show. But for Jacobs, 17.5 projection. He, Jordan Love, and Jane Daniels could be core plays today. If I had to guess based on the projections being so much higher than everybody else in the game. And Jacobs at a 10.6 salary as well. He's more expensive than Jordan Love, but slightly less well projected. So maybe that decreased the Josh Jacobs ownership a little bit relative to Jordan Love. Deebo Samuel, a guy who in week 1, 10 targets in that first game, much lower ADOT than Terry McLaurin had, only 7.2 air yards per target. But Deebo also saw 1 deep target, same amount as McLaurin. Was the thing that we talked about a lot in this channel. My big belief, especially relative to the best ball ADPs, which now don't matter, but still kind of inform our priors heading into the season. A big believer that Deebo is underpriced for the opportunity here, as I've mentioned again countless times. So I apologize for repeating stuff you've already heard, but it is important so people kind of know we're aligned. Having watched all the Commanders plays last year, having been so deeply invested in the Jaden Daniels experience last year, Terry McLaurin was a big part of watching that. He was also one of my highest exposed guys in best ball last year. But there were a lot of touchdowns that went his way that did not feel like Terry McLaurin touchdowns. Part of why I think it was good for him to get paid when he did, because I don't think he has anywhere near as good of a year this year. McLaurin going to be in play because of the fact that Deebo is now the assumed wide receiver 1 based on 1 week of results. McLaurin not very involved, only 4 targets in that first game, 12% target per out run for comparison. Deebo, again, that 10 targets, 33% target per out run. He was getting the ball fed to him pretty aggressively. Also had a red zone target in that game, or a red zone opportunity in that game. McLaurin had none. So for Deebo, people are going to assume he's a wide receiver 1. I think Deebo's a strong play at that 13.9 projection. Honestly, feels kind of light for me. But because the fact McLaurin was so bad week 1, so invisible week 1 in particular, like there wasn't even volume there for people to point to, I do think that it makes sense to try to play a little bit more McLaurin, a little bit less Deebo potentially. These guys projected pretty close. Deebo at 13.9, McLaurin at 12.9. There's certainly some worlds for me tonight where I'll play Jaden Daniels a captain, play Deebo and McLaurin. But I think relative to what ownership's going to be, again, I spoiled it for myself by doing a stream where I get paid on Stochastic to do it. I do like coming in kind of blind and going, oh, this ownership, whoa, look at that. But can't do that now. McLaurin's going to be less owned. I think that makes him appealing. But Deebo, the role is really pretty big for him. And I would agree with people that feel like he didn't have a ton of juice visually. And even that run play he scored a touchdown on, he wasn't the fastest guy in the world. He was more like a bowling ball, kind of weaving his way through. That said, pretty efficient per play, 0.4 EPA per target. I think Deebo is in a good spot. It's just the game theory, I think, is going to make me want to play comparable amounts of McLaurin today. Shout out the members here. We got our guy Braden. Oh, yeah, Money Time. Mr. Hoopy Butthole as well. 2 guys as well, I believe, are in the Discord. So make sure you join the channel. Get access to my Discord. Just really in there talking football, anything that I have. It's interesting to me. I also this week posted some of the resources I use every week to prep for football, besides the data I pull from Sports Info Solutions and Pro Football Reference, and the stuff I show you here, of course, from Stochastic, ETR, stuff like that. But basically just trying to be talking about football all the time, talking about things, injuries, how I think they affect things. A little bit less important perhaps than it is for best ball season, but join the Discord, building a good community here, and hopefully you guys can be a part of it. So please just join the channel, click the link in the description to get added to the Discord automatically. So that's your top 5 guys: Jaden, Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs. A substantial amount of projection ahead of our next 2, Deebo and Terry McLaurin. Romeo Doubs is going to be a player that comes up a lot. 4K salary, just stupidly priced on this DraftKings slate. He has half the salary of Jaden Reed. It makes for a really unique dynamic. He's also 2K more than that, less than Matthew Golden. That's going to make Romeo Doubs come up a little bit more. Doubs, 10.4 projection for him. It's going to highlight that because he's going to be coming up. He actually might be the top value play. Not quite. He's one of the top 5, but not quite the top one. Malik Heath, your number 1 value, 9.2x value. 1.8 is the fantasy points there. So Malik Heath, not a guy I would prioritize. They already have enough competition for Green Bay, with having 4 receivers strong up top between Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks on top of that. Tight end Tucker Kraft is also very viably in the mix. Malik Heath, not a guy I'd prioritize, but may come up a little bit at $200 salary. Chris Brooks, 3.2 fantasy point projection at $400. He played 9 snaps last week. Brooks, let me look at some of the underlying numbers. Kitty, I don't need you wandering around here. Go back to your bed. Go back to your bed, please. Chris Brooks, 9 snaps, 2 intended touches. So not an awful intended touch rate. Ran 2 routes, got 1 target there. In Chris Brooks, if the game script, I think in particular, is one where Washington somehow pulls ahead, would think that Chris Brooks could be in the mix a little bit more. But, you're talking less than 10 snaps. Can he make it as a $400 guy? He can. I'm kind of surprised to see the projection be that high, though, at a 3.2 fantasy point projection from Stochastic. John Fitzpatrick, $200 salary. Not really somebody I would have on my radar very much. But he's coming up here. Romeo Doubs, more compelling play as a value, 4K salary. Really strong projection for him. Doubs is going to make it into a lot of lineups today, and he has been a safety blanket target who works with Jordan Love in the offseason for the last 2 years. Now he's also been a good target earner as well. Romeo Doubs, to me, I think a priority play, despite him being one of the least sneaky plays in the slate. He's just way too cheap at 4K. And Jaden Daniels, despite being so expensive, the most expensive guy on the slate, he's still technically your 5th best value overall. Drafters weeklies this year, not for me. I haven't talked to drafters since the season ended. Was supposed to talk to them last week, but didn't hear back from the founder there. So it is what it is. I don't know. We'll figure it out for sure for best ball. But my gambling is DraftKings this year. I don't have to pretend because of my underdog stuff. I don't have to pretend to really care about that too much. I like playing DraftKings, so that's what we're focusing on for now. Let's go to ownership next. Jaden Daniels, 79% expected ownership overall, 23% at captain. So I would say relative to how much the offense, unless the Commanders get smoked today, I don't think they do. Green Bay's defense looks good, but I don't think they're world beaters necessarily. And who could stop a guy like Jaden? Jaden, to me, chalk play for sure. 23% captain ownership, very chalky there as well, though. Not too far ahead of Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs. Jaden, I really don't have an issue with being above the field despite him being so highly owned. And really, if it came down to it, I would put 100% of him rather than, put 0. Jaden, I just don't know how he would fail, but I'm sure people will think the same thing. Underlying numbers, though, for week 1, Jaden Daniels, 90% catchable ball rate, 0.75 EPA per run. Fantastic. This is me just filleting Jaden some more. Pass game, 0.14 EPA per pass, 0.27 EPA per drop back. Jaden also, as I think I mentioned before, 8 rushes in that game, 1 of which was in the red zone. And he didn't score a touchdown in that game, put up 20 fantasy points aside that. I just really find it hard to believe Jaden doesn't make it at the very least in the flex. Captain ownership, you want to split that up. That's always going to be a good showdown approach. Jordan Love, 68% ownership expected overall, 19% at captain, so very chalky there. I think when people don't know how to handle the Green Bay receivers, you end up getting less of them at captain. You get more Jordan Love then as a QB captain with probably multiple pass catchers. But I would make sure if you're playing Jordan Love at captain, do not single stack him. I don't think he has enough red zone equity to get there at captain without being multiple stack partners. And the way that Green Bay is going to work is most likely you'll have, Jaden Reed catches a touchdown, probably doesn't have an insane ceiling. He has a big ceiling, but the work for him is pretty low. In week 1, only 18 snaps, 12 routes. So Jaden Reed does seem like the foot injury. They're keeping him kind of safe, even though they targeted him a shitload. 42% target per out run. His 5 targets were the most on the team. For Jaden Reed, it was still not a lot of snaps. So point being is like you put him in the flex. He's a player that I think, has captain upside theoretically, but with the volume of routes not being there, you probably want him more in the flex than Jordan Love at captain. Discord link, you got to be a member of the YouTube channel, but it's in the description of the YouTube video, as I said. But join the channel, $5 to join. You can join the Discord. I think you can still join the Discord, but you don't get access to any channels if you're not a member. So sync up your YouTube to your Discord. Link in the description. It's very easy to do. Josh Jacobs, and of course, would love to have you to show proper enthusiasm. 68% ownership for Josh Jacobs, so basically dead even with Jordan Love. Jordan Love also 18.7% expected at captain by Stochastic, 18.5% for Josh Jacobs. Certainly, if the Packers win this game handily, I would think it's because they salted the game away on offense with Josh Jacobs, kept the ball out of Jaden Daniels' hands. I don't think they're going to be able to do that to the same extent. But that said, Green Bay, pretty decent total as well with 25.5 implied points, 3-point favorite, as we talked about earlier, against the Commanders. Josh Jacobs, I think a very easy click today. And really, as I mentioned, building around Jaden, building around Josh Jacobs. It's going to be my priority today. If you want to fade that, then knock yourselves out. Romeo Doubs, 44% ownership overall, 6% at captain. If you put him in at captain, you'll be able to afford some of the stars a little bit more. The big thing for Romeo Doubs that stood out to me, having a 27% target per out run rate, and also really massive air yards in that game, ended up averaging 21.8 air yards per target. I did have a really deep throw. I don't know how many air yards it was for the one deep target he got, but had one deep target in the game, which he converted for 2.8 expected points added. So a big play for Romeo Doubs in week one. All the talk throughout camp was that Romeo Doubs was looking faster out there. We kind of saw that in week one with the one big play he had. He also had 2 red zone targets in that game. So Romeo Doubs, a very strong play, 4K chalk for sure, but 44% ownership I think would be too light for him. Doubs, I think, has a very good shot at making it in the flex as a guy that opens up some stuff. He is like kicker priced, even better than that. And Doubs has been a guy that Jordan Love has relied on for multiple years. I'm a believer in Doubs, certainly, though. Like if you get Jaden Reed making a winning lineup, golden. If you have 2 other pass catchers from Green Bay, you're going to get less Doubs. So maybe be mindful to just not jam Doubs on top of like multiple Packer stacks too often. What's the deal on Wicks? Thought it seemed like he had a lot of run last week. He was basically the same amount of work as the other guys. Wicks had, he's really efficient. He had 1.5 EPA per target. He had 22 snaps, ran 9 routes. His 9 routes would be less than Reed, less than Golden, less than Doubs. Doubs had 15, Golden 12, Reed 12. So Wicks, 9 compared to 12. He's not that far off, but it's not enough volume to love. But Wicks is also pretty cheap. He is slightly cheaper than Doubs, so he's probably your most direct Doubs pivot. I just think Doubs' role is a little bit more secure in that offense. But certainly Doubs being this chalky, you could see Wicks is down here at 11%, 3,600. Doubs 4K, 44% owned. Maybe could get higher. I think that certainly Wicks is a very live pivot to Doubs if he could just outproduce him. But I think also playing them together would work for me. Deebo Samuel, 41% ownership expected, 8% of captain. For comparison, McLaurin expected to be 36% and 7% of captain. If I had to guess, you get more Deebo, less McLaurin from the field. I think people will be a little bit scared, particularly with casuals that play a Thursday night football slate, a little bit more scared of playing McLaurin. As I mentioned, I think Deebo's the better play. I think he's going to have the better role the entire year. And as I said, in the entire best ball season, I think he scores 10 plus touchdowns this year. We already got 1 down. So I think it's going to be a good year for Deebo is really the main thing. That said, the ownership for Deebo, big box score, one of the best receivers, in terms of points scored in week one. And people probably chased that a little bit more than Stochastic has in the ownership. Tucker Kraft in between those 2 guys as well, 36.5% ownership, including 4% in captain. Going down the food chain a little bit, Zach Ertz, 25% owned, 2% in captain. Jaden Reed, very expensive, 8,200, but he'll be 23% owned and 3% in captain if he hits. He didn't play enough snaps last week to feel good about it. But if he hits, has that big captain upside, scores some touchdowns, he's probably a little bit underplayed because people being worried about the foot injury. The kickers here, 17% for Brandon McManus, Green Bay's kicker. Matt Gay on the Washington side, same ownership, basically 17%, and about half a percentage of captain. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt at 7K. The workload for him was not as good as people will think based upon the box score results. He had 23 snaps in that game. Eckler had 33. He was good in terms of the run plays, 0.2 EPA per run for Krosky-Merritt, but 10 rushes in that game. Overall, 11 intended touches between the 1 target he got, didn't catch. He had 2 red zone opportunities in that one inside the 10-yard line for Krosky-Merritt, so that's not bad usage. My big concern for Krosky-Merritt, I should be highlighting him as we talk. Big concern for him is that 7K is kind of an aggressive price tag, especially considering that Eckler is 6,800. And I do think this being potentially a more playoffy environment, at least, 2 teams that I expect to be amongst the top in the NFC. I think we do see more Eckler in the spot. Green Bay gave up a 34% target rate to running backs in week 1. It's a Gibbs offense. That's going to be a little bit different for sure. But Eckler, I think being out there catching some more screens against, Green Bay offense, Green Bay defense rather, it should be pretty aggressive. I just think that's how the game goes. That said, Krosky-Merritt can make it in the flex. I would have a hard time playing him at captain because I just don't think, Washington runs away with this one. And that's how Krosky-Merritt would probably make it at captain, is that they put up a decent lead and he's getting some of those touches to keep the game, ahead for the Commanders. But I think him making the flex by himself with Eckler, if he were 13%, I think that'd be a pretty lightly owned play. I think the field, though, will play him closer to 25, 33 even. People like Krosky Merritt too much in the box score in week 1. It wasn't fantastic usage, but people will see the points scored, and I think that's where Krosky Merritt, it becomes a tough play for me to figure out. But I would tend to think I want to get at least a quarter of my lineups with him. I just worry the field jams him in more than they should because the projection doesn't really get supported by it. Guys here don't really want to play a ton of these guys. Savion Williams, McNichols, somebody needs to get hurt for Washington to feel good about that. John Bates is out there as your tight end too, whatever. Really not a lot of fun plays down here, but Ontavian Wicks, 10.7%. Probably wouldn't play him at captain. Commanders D, 10%. Certainly Jordan Love could commit a turnover here. It's a pretty lowly owned defense. Commanders D looked pretty good in week 1, got a lot of pressure on Russell Wilson. So that could be something that maybe they get more against Jordan Love. I'm not saying that's a guarantee. Jordan Love only saw a 13% pressure rate, one of the lowest for any QB in week 1. But, maybe Commanders can hit. Noah Brown, 17%. Also, a low on play I'll highlight here. Got good work. Jalen Lane at 5. Noah Brown and Jalen Lane functioned the same play, but Noah Brown had a little bit more work, a little bit more snaps and routes in week 1. All right, let's go to ETR next. So hopefully that sums up the projection portion of things well enough. And guys, if you get value out of this video, if it's just you want to fade everything I'm saying, it would be hurtful for me. But it doesn't matter. Whatever you get out of this video, if there's anything that's been making your life better here, that's asking too much. But please subscribe down below. Hit the like button. Leave a comment. All your engagements go a long way if you're watching on Twitter. Also hit the like button, the follow button on there. My videos going live Thursdays and Mondays for the showdown slates at 12 p.m. Friday, the main slate at 12 p.m. Premium video at 1 p.m. for the YouTube members. And then Sundays at 9 a.m. my final takes video. It all flows through both. So please show some love. Hit the like button. Subscribe to all the stuff here. And I will keep showing up and doing the work as best I can. ETR projections, just real fast. Your top 5 projected guys while I run the optimizer here with no settings on top. So we can figure out what the optimal plays are in a cash game lineup situation. Jaden, 22.1 fantasy points. ETR has Josh Jacobs at number 2, just ahead of Jordan Love. But then a really big gap, it looks like. Yeah, we got Debo at 12.3 fantasy points. McLaurin at 11.9, so they are lower than Stochastic ETR data. But should be a pretty clear top 3, much like Stochastic, of Jaden Daniels, Josh Jacobs, Jordan Love. Nothing surprising there. Your cash game lineup, if you were to play a cash game at 12:20 p.m. on the East Coast, we got Jaden Daniels, a captain, Josh Jacobs, Jordan Love, Tucker Kraft, Romeo Doubs. So Tucker Kraft, probably a little bit cheap. Romeo Doubs, probably a little bit cheap for their opportunities and how many routes they were out there for compared to a Green Bay, a wide receiver core that did not run a lot of routes overall. Noah Brown at 3,200 coming in here as well. So no Debo, no McLaurin, but Noah Brown coming in feels a little bit off to me. This one, number 2, just real fast. Doubs at captain. You can cram in more stuff. Doubs at captain, Jaden Daniels, Josh Jacobs, Jordan Love, Austin Eckler, Tucker Kraft. Not too much better than the first one. Jaden at captain does feel a little bit more cashy, though. Overall, in the top 25 lineups, according to ETR data, Jaden Daniels in 100% of them. So keep that in mind here. Jaden, if you were to try to get away from the field right away, he would be the guy you'd strip out of lineups. Jordan Love in 96% of the top 25 lineups. Again, with no variance put on top of it, it's just a straight projection math. Josh Jacobs, 96%. Romeo Doubs, 96%. So basically, you're getting Jaden, Love, Jacobs, and Doubs in pretty much every lineup. But Jaden's the only one who's technically in literally every lineup of the top 25. Stack construction, you're getting 4-2 Packers in 60% of these lineups, 5-1 Packers onslaughts in 28% of the top 25, and then 3-3 builds. So no Commanders onslaughts. Given how projections split for Green Bay, and the price tags aren't really great for most of the guys relative to kind of, these partial rolls, I'm happy. I'm always happy to play onslaughts that don't come up a lot naturally, but Commanders 4-2s, Commanders 5-1s are not coming up very much naturally, and I think they're appealing. But let's give some boosts in here. We'll build some lineups and sim them out. And let's get all the lineups in. Let me not set an ownership cap either. We will give boosts though. So if a QB is playing with his QB's at captain rather, we're going to try to boost wide receivers and tight ends. If a captain's a wide receiver or a tight end, we're going to boost the QB from the same team. That's really the only boosts I put in for showdown stuff when building lineups on the solver. So let's do that. Let's put in ETR as variance. So it'll go a little bit faster. Let's build 250 lineups and sim them out. You guys can also get access to Solver with promo code SPLASH, link down below as well. The Solver is ETR's optimizer tool. If you use Fantasy Cruncher, it's more similar to that than Stochastic Sims. The big thing that I like about the Solver is you could choose portfolios. So what I'd like to do is build 1,000 lineups and then also make that into 15 portfolio groups that the Solver then creates groups that try to get leverage on lineups. Also increase the diversity from what the initial projection set is. So it's really cool stuff. I'll build it again here on screen so you guys can see it. Before the portfolio tool, Run the Sims is a similar thing as well. I don't do any affiliate stuff with them. I don't have access to it, so I don't know how well it works. But portfolio tools, I think, are one thing that in DFS, if Stochastic doesn't use it, people do a good job using the sim data for themselves. But if you want to get lineups in fast and get a good mix of lineups, portfolio management tool like the Solver gives you is a good one. And it's one that I've been using for my 20 maxes as well. So check it out. It's a nice tool. It's a nice wrinkle. To build lineups faster, which, you know, when things change and you're running sims last minute, that can be something you want to try to accomplish. Let's build for the Millie Maker here, though. Let's diversify the lineups with the portfolios. So let's build 15 portfolios of 20 entries each. Let's see what we get. So there's a sim with ETR data on the Solver, and then we'll run a sim with Stochastic data on their sim product, and you'll get a read on stuff here. Oops. I don't know if that was on camera, but I did just spill water on the couch like an asshole. High Showdown sluts. Yes, High Showdown. Robert of the Turd's favorite day today. I won't pair it with the date to make it come off as insensitive. Never forget, guys. It is 9/11. I, of course, was a high school senior during 9/11. It was awful. It was in New York. Was in Riverdale, if you guys are familiar with the New York area. 200 spots away from World Trade Center, 200 blocks away, I guess would be the better way to do that math. Still, there was dust, still smoke in the air. So make your jokes about 9/11, as I know you all love to do. But it is a day that I actually still look at the calendar and go like, yeah, that was fucked up. So that was fucked up. And now Saudi Arabia is going to host WrestleMania. So we've come a long way. Your top lineups right now, that's as political as I'll get here. We got 2.7. What is the math you were trying to do? 2,700% of ROI. That's the best way to do it here. It's a really big ROI for this top lineup here. Tucker Kraft, Jaden Daniels. Yeah, I'm really great at segues, and you weren't going to say anything classy. Tucker Kraft, I lack that class apparently. Tucker Kraft, Jaden Daniels, Josh Jacobs, Packers D, Romeo Doubs, Jordan Love. So Kraft at captain. Massive ROI for Tucker Kraft at captain. I'm surprised to see it. Also a Packers onslaught here. So we did see the projections. We're supporting more Packers dominant builds. And that's something too you'll get in the Sims. It's still, Sims are ultimately a parroting back to some extent of the median projections that the sites are giving you, whether it's ETR, whether it's Stochastic, whether it's Run the Sim, Saber Sim, whatever you'd use for a Sim product. You are getting, again, what the actual projections wanted to give you, which was some 4-2 Packers, some 5-1 Packers. You're getting 5-1 Packers, but a more unique version with Tucker Kraft at captain here. Number 2 is Austin Eckler at captain, Jaden Daniels, Josh Jacobs, Corey Krosky-Merritt. A little bit harder for me to believe that Eckler makes it a captain with Krosky-Merritt also making a lineup. I think both guys in the flex. You can talk me into that. Eckler having enough upside with Krosky-Merritt somehow scoring a touchdown. Feels like a bit much. Tucker Kraft, Brandon McManus part of this roster. So 3-3 build with Eckler at captain. I'll play some Eckler captain. I'm surprised to see that be the number 2 lineup in terms of ROI. Number 3 is Jaden Daniels at captain, Josh Jacobs, Jordan Love. So we're getting the big 3 in. Kicker with Matt Gay for Washington, Romeo Doubs, Noah Brown. This one doesn't feel very sneaky to me. I guess the fact you're not playing Debo, not playing McLaurin, but that looks like some of the cash game optimals. So I don't think that's too sneaky. I'm surprised to see that have such a high ROI. Number 4 is Jordan Love at captain. Jaden Daniels is making the lineup here as your lone commander. Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, Tucker Kraft, Wick. So you're getting Love at captain, stacking it up with 4 of his receivers. A little bit aggressive, but certainly that is more correlation than not. Number 5 lineup is Love at captain again. Jaden is your lone commander again. Jaden Reed, so double Jaden lineup here. Romeo Doubs, John Fitzpatrick, and Josh Jacobs. Surprised to see a Fitzpatrick lineup here. Definitely Green Bay forward lineups. So that is something ETR's data will give you. Shout out Consigliere. He's been a member for over 2 years. Thank you for that. I think for the probably only time I'll laugh today, I'm glad to bring somebody joy. If I can make one person laugh with things that make me feel uncomfortable to say out loud, done a good job for today. Boner for 5-1 sitting ETR land. So it seems. And like anti-Commanders 5-1s, which I do not support quite as much. In terms of the overall exposure, you're getting Jaden in 88% of these lineups, 21% in captain, 67% in the flex. So Jaden Daniels making quite a bit of lineups here. Jordan Love in 83% of them, including 32% at captain. So more Jordan Love at captain, but Jaden and Jordan Love making up half the lineups at captain for ETR's data. Romeo Dobbs, 12% at captain. Tucker Kraft, 9%. Josh Jacobs, only 5% at captain. Surprised to see that. Not really a fade on Jacobs, though, because you're getting 54% of the flex. But maybe the Sims, at least ETR side of the Sims, kind of devaluing Jacobs at captain, because I guess it's a pretty expected way for the Packers to dominate. Stack construction in this these top sim lineups here. 4-2 Packers, 3-3 Commanders number 2. But basically 30% of the lineups here, 38% with that. So about 70% of lineups will have at least 3 Packers. So a heavy Commanders build not coming up very frequently. You're still getting 5-1 Packers onslaughts, 16% of these top 250. 4-2 Commanders and 14%, and 5-1 Commanders only 2%. So if somehow a Commanders onslaught hits, I don't think that gets played very often. And then portfolio-wise, real fast, this is what the portfolio tool does. So it's different groups of 20 lineups. I would assume right away that a lot of people using the ETR/solver portfolio tool will just take the highest ROI one. That'd be this portfolio group that has 90% Jordan Love, 90% Jaden Daniels. A lot of Jordan Love at captain. The top ROI group has 55% Jordan Love at captain, only 10% Jaden. A ton of Romeo Dobbs, ton of Tucker Kraft. Both guys, again, a little bit too cheap. Jacobs, you're not getting a captain at all. McManus is coming up a good amount. Anyway, this is what the portfolio tool does. And what I like to do is just go through one by one, see what the exposures are. Let's say I really want to get less Jordan Love. I'll go through all of them and find one here where we have Jaden in almost every lineup, Jordan Love in 75% of them. This one has Jaden in 90%, Jordan Love in 75. Might not be any with Jordan Love in less than 75. That one he's in 70. So this is one way to do it, is just to kind of cut it down and say, I want less Jordan Love. What's the portfolio that gives me the least, but still has enough of other guys? You go further down the chain as well. Let's say you want, more Jalen Lane. This lineup is 10%. It's a nice tool, the portfolio sorting tool. You can really wish Stochastic had it for their Sims tool, because I'd probably use that over this, because you just build more lineups. Stochastic gives you 50,000 sim lineups to build off of. But it's anything that these sites add that's new, I try to show to you guys. And I don't know if I'm doing a great job selling the portfolio tool, but it's been a nice wrinkle, allows you to get some different looks here. This one's got 15% McLaurin as an example. This one also 15. I would love to have a more stark contrast. Oh, this one here, you get 35% McLaurin. So when you go through the portfolios one by one, you'll see kind of unique differences like that. And that's what I try to do, is like, oh, this doesn't have enough McLaurin. Let me find one that does more. So that's a solver tool for you. You guys get the idea. Stochastic, already ran a sim for Stochastic. So let's get this one here. Top ROI lineup according to Stochastic is a Jaden Daniels captain. So let's see. It does seem like a Stochastic not as Jordan Love crazy, whereas ETR was force feeding a ton of Jordan Love. Here we're getting a lot more of the Commander side of the equation. And in fact, top Stochastic lineup is a Commanders 5-1. So we are seeing some projection/sim disagreement between Stochastic and ETR today. Jaden Daniels, a captain. Commanders D. Deebo Samuel makes this one. Packers D is your lone Packer in the top ROI lineup. That surprises me. Terry McLaurin, Zach Ertz. So really a Packers fail situation here. I mean, I guess maybe you get a return touchdown, a defensive touchdown. You're getting double Ds. Give me double Ds. Consigliere wants, and you're getting that right up top here. Number 2 lineup, also double Ds. Packers at captain. Austin Eckler, Commanders D. Deebo Samuel, Jaden Daniels, Josh Jacobs. So down-paced game, as I guess what you would say with this one. You're getting Josh Jacobs in, getting one of the Commanders running backs with Eckler. Sure. Probably not all the touchdowns, this kind of game script. Number 3, you have Deebo Samuel again, a captain this time. Commanders D again. So Commanders D in the top 3 lineups for Stochastic. Jaden Daniels, Jordan Love, Matt Gay, Matthew Golden. Commanders D is really low owned, so I think that might be part of the logic here, but the build is a 4-2 Commanders dominant build. So getting Commanders D in there, that makes sense in terms of the correlation. And number 4, Deebo Samuel, captain again. Brandon McManus, this one. Jaden Daniels, Jordan Love, Packers D, and then Tucker Kraft. So one defense of the top 4 lineups at least. And the fifth lineup, Debo at captain again, Brandon McManus, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Daniels, Jordan Love, Romeo Doubs. Consigliere saying stochastic over ETR, double D's, number 2, always the right choice. Sure. It's a lot of defenses up top, a lot of Debo as well. Debo in all the top 5 lineups according to stochastic. Jaden Daniels makes all top 5. I would think that's a very likely outcome as well. Jordan Love, that seems to be the biggest gap. I mean, Jordan Love is in 3 of the top 5 lineups, but ETR is giving you him as captain. Stochastic, not quite so much. Top ROI lineups, right? Or top ROI players, excuse me. Matt Gay at captain, 21% ROI. He is the highest ROI player according to Stochastic sim data of the top 150 lineups. John Fitzpatrick, who is coming up on both sites a little bit. Fitzpatrick, 18% ROI for him, but only in the flex. Jaden Daniels, a captain, a 4% ROI. Commanders D at captain, a 2% ROI. Commanders in the flex, also a positive ROI. And Brandon McManus, slightly positive at 0.4%. Highest exposed guys overall. Jaden, 52% in the flex. Fields at 56. But he is still your highest exposed player overall. Jordan Love, 51%. Fields at 49. So Stochastic still giving you more Jordan Love in the flex than the field will have, but definitely doesn't feel like as big of a stand, at least up top in the highest ROI lineups compared to ETR. Debo Samuel, 44%. Fields at 34. So definitely more Debo in the flex. Jaden at captain, 39%. Fields at 24. It's a pretty big lean for Jaden Daniels at captain. And Romeo Doubs in the flex, 35%. Fields at 38. So you're still getting a lot of Romeo Doubs, but it's technically a slight fade on him. And actually, Stochastic, low on Jacobs in the flex too, right behind it. Your highest leverage plays overall, the guys they want you to get the most of relative to the field. Jaden Daniels at captain, 16% more there. It's a pretty big stand for Jaden at captain. 2/5 of the lineups that Stochastic has amongst the top 150 feature Jaden Daniels at captain today. Commanders D, 13% leverage. Fields at 10% in the flex. Stochastic wants to get 23. Brandon McManus, 13% more in the flex. You're getting 31% McManus in these lineups. So Green Bay's kicker coming up a lot. Fields at 17. Matt Gay, 28%. Fields at 17 as well. So Stochastic actually likes both kickers, but slight lean towards Brandon McManus overall. And Debo Samuel in the flex, 10% more than the field. Field is expected to play 34%. Debo's coming up in 44% of these lineups. Most negative leverage plays in Stochastic's top 150. Then we'll do a hand build. We'll give you guys a good handy. We'll get going on our way. We got Josh. Yeah, I know what I said. Pause all you want. I know what I said. Josh Jacobs, 16% negative leverage on him in the flex. A big fade on Jacobs in the flex overall. Tucker Kraft fading him despite the fact that he does feel pretty cheap at 5,400 as your lead tight end by a good margin. 16% less than the field at flex for Tucker Kraft. Stochastic only has 16% in their top 150. Fields at 32. Jordan Love, 9% exposure in captain for Stochastic's top 150. Fields at 19. So big discrepancy with ETR and Stochastic. ETR loving Jordan Love and captain. Stochastic saying not so much. They want you to get half as much. Zach Ertz, 15% exposure in the flex. Fields at 24. So a fade on Zach Ertz. And Josh Jacobs at captain. You're fading him there too. 11% exposure in Stochastic's top 150. The Fields at 18. Stochastic low on Jacobs in the flex. Low on him at captain. I don't agree with that, but okay. So knowing that, I'm probably not going to build a lineup that Stochastic's going to like in the sim. We'll build one. Large field. 35% to first. Captain. Yeah, I think Jaden makes it no matter what. Does he get outscored? Or do I need the value of a Debo or a McLaurin? I'm going to say probably not. So let's go Jaden at captain. And I think Josh Jacobs makes the lineup here. The issue is that I think it would be unique to play McLaurin and Debo together. But I'll go Josh Jacobs here. Let's see. What happens if I cram these guys in? So we have good values on the slate. So I'm playing no Washington running backs. Jaden Daniels, Josh Jacobs, McLaurin, Debo. So for Jaden to hit at captain, we're saying that he's got 2 pass catchers he's sustaining. He's also maybe running enough on top of that. We want to save some money here. Can Chris Brooks make it in addition to Josh Jacobs? I think this game script would indicate that Washington's playing from behind a little bit, having to be more aggressive throwing the ball. So I don't know that Chris Brooks makes sense for that one. All right, well, let's go Romeo Doubs. We'll take the value here that leaves us 1,300. I think we've gotten off the beaten path a little bit with going with the Washington double stack. Sims like this John Fitzpatrick guy, but I think Chris Brooks would be the better play to him, in my opinion. Better projected as well. Let's go Chris Brooks. So 2 Green Bay running backs fading the entirety of the Green Bay pass game, besides Romeo Doubs, who is too cheap at 4K. No matter what happens today, I will die on the hill of Romeo Doubs being too cheap at 4K. All right, 63% ROI. I would play this lineup. I feel good about it. So my final lineup here, I'm not gonna tamper with it. We got Jaden Daniels at captain, Josh Jacobs, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel. So I like this lineup a lot. Don't play it, guys, because I would like to put this at least in the play action. Frank, this would probably be the one I would build for the Millie Maker as well as my first blush. So fuck me. But not a bad ROI, 0.2% win rate. And then round up the lineup, Dobbs and Chris Brooks. That's a beauty. That's you can't top perfect art, and we built perfect art here. Why the JCM hate? It's not JCM hate. It's just that he's really overvalued by public markets, and I think that's the big thing with him. Like I think he showed out pretty well. He had a 20% avoided tackle rate in week 1. That's good. The fact that he got 2 red zone opportunities, but he's getting basically slightly less of a workload than, let's say substantially less of a workload than Brian Robinson had. And also, like, I need to see something in the pass game there. And I know Robinson at least had some ability there. People didn't think he did, but he actually played pretty well as a receiver for Washington last year. For JCM, it's just like, if he's going to be played 13% of the slate, I would play him. If he's going to be played 33% today because the field thinks he's a great play when Stochastic has him for a 7-point projection, I just think it's fucking stupid. I think people really are having a hard time deciphering what's a good play this year, especially in the early part of the year. And I don't think JCM is like a good play unless he's low owned. As chalk, though, I don't think he'd be a good play today. And whatever, even if he hits, that's how I feel about it. It's all 20 of your play action lines. Well, Nolan knows how to play DFS. Nolan's very good at DFS, so I'll take it. Can't wait to split the Millie with you. Yeah, well, now I'm not playing that lineup in the Millie for what it's worth, but that is my favorite lineup. Either way, guys, please show some love here. I'll give you guys my 3 takeaways to get unique based on what we just talked about. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. It goes a long way for me here. I'm just one guy showing you my gambling on stream, whether it's for best ball, whether it's for NFL, soon to be NBA again on the @SplashPlay Bets channel. There's always something I'm gambling on here on YouTube, and I do the best I can to show you guys my process. In case of NBA, my data as well. But I don't really hide anything from you guys. Literally, that's from the lineup I fucking build. And I think it's pretty clever. So I show you guys as much as I can here. If you get any value out of it, even if you're just looking for things to fade, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Leave a comment after the fact as well. It all goes a long way for me. Join the Discord too. Again, if you want my data sheet as well, where I have all the data pulled in, sports info solution stuff, the EPA metrics, the counting stats, the target rates, things like that. Everything that I value, I put into a data sheet. It's here on the YouTube channel, but it's also in the Discord. The Discord itself, you can talk football with me. I give you guys my takes about shit. I think it's a good part of the process here to be in our Discord here on Splash Play. So please join the channel. $5 to join. You can add to the Discord immediately if you click the link in the description, and that's how that goes. And Stochastic, 15% off. Link in the description for that. Promo code SPLASH. Solver, same thing. 15% off. Check them both out. Does support the show directly. All right, my 3 takeaways today. Number 1 would be it feels like there's too few Commanders in lineups. I'm, of course, a big Commanders believer. I'm, in particular, a big Jay Daniels believer. But I would say for this slate, it seems like there's a lot more Packers dominant stuff. And I get it. A few Packers, like, again, Romeo Doubs, I would say Kraft, Wicks, a little bit too cheap. I would say Jaden Reed, expensive, appealing through that prism. Like, I'm going to play these guys. Matthew Golden, I think, probably gets underplayed relative to every other rookie in the world because he didn't do great in week 1. There's reasons to play those guys, but I feel like the Commanders are underrepresented, and you could probably, just kind of be Sisyphus pushing the boulder uphill, playing whatever Packers you want and trying to get it right. But in reality, I think just playing a few more Commanders who were more projectable make a little more sense. Like, Deebo's got an obvious role. McLaurin's going to do better than he did in week 1. Zach Ertz has an obvious role relative to projection. I would like to play more of those guys, even Eckler and Krosky Merritt, than play the guessing game with the Packers over and over again in all my lineups. My second way to get unique, it seems like based off the sim, and this is not a take I feel super strongly about because I don't think the Packers are a team that fucks up a lot. They don't make a lot of egregious plays. Commanders D seems undervalued, though. A defense at under 10% owned because you have Romeo Doubs be kind of cheap in this situation. People can make the case for Wicks. People can make the case even for a Jalen Lane type. You probably end up getting a little bit less ownership on kickers and defenses than you would normally because you have actually appealing value options down the chain. So I'd say playing some Commanders D, especially given the fact that, like, the stochastic sims are really pushing Commanders D aggressively. I think playing them a little bit more, even if it's only getting 20%, trying to get 2x the field on stochastics projected ownership, I think it's probably a good move. Third way to get unique on the slate. I mean, I just don't think McLaurin ends up as highly owned as stochastic things. Again, they had him for 36%, Debo 41. I just think that McLaurin, with how he played in week 1, people now assume Debo's a wide receiver 1, and he might very well be for the team, with the touchdown equity I expect, and also the target earning he had in week 1. But McLaurin, getting the deep shots, all it takes is him hitting on one of those to make it in the flex. If he hits on 2 of those, somehow scores 2 touchdowns, McLaurin will probably be a very low owned captain. So I think playing McLaurin more would be a move I would make. I just think Debo gets a little bit overowned, even though I think Debo's a good play. If McLaurin ends up underowned, the fact that he just didn't play well in week 1, he and Golden both, I think are very similar in that respect. With the week 1 box score, the casuals aren't going to want to play him, but they can get there, can make it in the flex in particular in 1 play, and really 2 big plays. And you might have a shot at them making it a captain, a very low ownership. So I'll say it, McLaurin and Golden. That gives you a little more coverage. That's what I would get unique. I think those guys are a little bit lesser owned than they would be if they had anything that they did right in week 1. But that's the slate, guys. Again, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. You guys know the deal here. Stochastic, 15% off. It does support the show. Half the money you pay to Stochastic goes to me. That's a big part of how I'm able to do this every single fucking day. So please do that. Make sure to gamble responsibly, guys, even though it is always money time here on this channel. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the channel at SplashPlayPod on Twitter or on YouTube. And hop in the Discord. Any questions you guys have, join the channel for that. But I appreciate all you guys being here, and I'll see you guys again soon. So tomorrow, back for the main slate video, same time, premium video right after that. So enjoy your days. Good luck. And never forget, I don't know. Bye, guys.